Well, hey friends, good to see you. My name is Pastor Anthony. I'm one of the pastors here at Real Life Church. We're in a series of daily videos called Homeschool for the Soul. We're looking at spiritual disciplines of the quarantined life. And today, I want to talk with you about what it looks like to leverage this season of quarantine to be good neighbors, to live into Jesus' call in our lives, to love our neighbor as ourselves. That as we look at investing in our relationship with God, that we wouldn't miss out on the relationship that He's called us to have with others. And so today we're going to look at 3 ways that you can intentionally invest in your neighbors during the season of quarantine. The first thing that I want to encourage you to do is to pray for your neighbors, to take time daily to invest in prayer for them, that you would petition God on their behalf, that first you would thank Him for putting them in your neighborhood, but 2, that you would ask God to meet their needs, whatever they are. Now, you might not know your neighbor's name right now. That's okay. God does. But if you do know your neighbors and you know their names, pray for them specifically. I'd encourage you to pick the 5 to 10 homes nearest to you and pray over those homes, that we as a community might be able to cover our cities in prayer as we pray specifically for our neighbors. If you're a part of Real Life, you know that every evening at 6:25, we've been taking time wherever we're at to pray. That we would pray through the words that Jesus teaches in Matthew 6:25, where He tells us not to worry about our lives, but to trust that God will take care of us. And so whether you want to build praying for your neighbors into that time where we're praying that we would not worry, but we would trust God, that'd be great. If you want to set up a different time daily to pray for your neighbors, that's great too. But our first step into being good neighbors in this season is to make sure that we are covering our neighbors in prayer. The second thing that I want you to think about doing is think through how could you bless your neighbors in this season? How could you be a blessing to them? I've seen that play out in a couple different ways I want to share with you, but you can get as creative as you want with this idea. I know one family who they have younger kids in their home and a couple young teenagers, and they gave them some chalk and they said, hey, bless our neighbors, write some encouraging words out on the sidewalk for our neighbors who are going on walks each day. And I know that this family did it because it's in my neighborhood. And let me just tell you how neat it was as a family as we were out for our walk to just get out and kind of move our muscles around as we've been stuck at home for a while now. And our kids stopped and they took a while and they looked through those words that the families had written on the sidewalk and they were encouraged. And let me tell you, if you could leverage your sidewalk for Jesus in this season, that would be such a great way to bless your neighbors with encouraging phrases, letting them know they're not alone, that they're going to make it through this, that you're here for them. Giving them some tips of what to do when they're bored is great too, but whatever you can do to bless your neighbors through your sidewalk, that works great. I know of other people who've given out of their abundance in baskets out by their sidewalk. Now, the way I've seen this work out really well is when people also put disinfecting wipes out by those items. But I know of one family in particular who had some extra fruit on their trees in their backyard, and they picked that fruit and they put it in baskets out for their neighbors with an encouraging sign. We want to be a blessing to you as God has blessed us. Take a lemon, take an apple, take an avocado, which is like gold, right? But looking out of our abundance to give to our neighbors is a great way to bless them. I know of another family who actually took one of those big packs of toilet paper that you get from one of those big box stores, and they put that entire pack out in front of their home with a note, if you need one, take one. And they knew that was risky. They knew somebody could just come by and take the whole pack. But for them, the risk was worth the blessing, knowing that if somebody needed that whole pack, they'd take it. But man, if those neighbors knew, if I need something, those neighbors are there for me. And they're willing to give up what they have to be able to bless us. There are those of you who can't go outside to do things like that out in the front of your homes. You can bless your neighbors as well by putting encouraging signs in your windows, letting them know that you're there for them. And that brings us to the third thing I want us to think through as we consider what it looks like to neighbor well in this season. And that third thing is this, to think about relationships first. I know we're talking about this last, but it's because I want to make sure I leave you with what matters most, and it's this. At the end of this season, whether it's days or weeks, however long it is, the things that'll last are the relationships that we invest in during this time. And how neat would it be if after this season, you'd invested in relationships with your neighbors so that they might have a relationship with God, their creator. Now that can look a couple different ways. You could, as I mentioned with the last thing you could try, put a note up in your window for your neighbors, but maybe this time, instead of just encouraging words, put some contact information of how they can reach out to someone if they're lonely or if they're in need. And if that feels like a step too far into risk for you to put your personal contact information in your window for your neighbors, which I completely understand, I'd love for you to put our church's email address in your window. That if your neighbors have a need, they might look at your window as they're out for a walk or they're driving by and they go, oh, if I have a need, I can email that church. They want to help. And if you just put info@reallife.la as the email address for people to reach out to, if they just need someone to talk to, if they need someone to pick up a prescription, whatever that looks like, we have people in the wings as a church who are ready to mobilize. Because here's the thing. If this season is teaching us anything, it's this. The church isn't about a building. Instead, church is the people. That means it's you. And so, looking for how we can connect with others, give them someone they can reach out to personally, whether that's in your home or in your church, to give them an email address that they can send out a request to. Bless your neighbors by investing in relationships during this season. That on the other end, when we're able to be out in our neighborhood and walk within 6 feet of each other again, whatever that looks like, that your neighbors will know that your home is a safe place, that yours is a home of prayer, that you care about relationships, and that you're willing to give of what you have to help those in need. I think God is doing some great things in the lives of those of us at Real Life in this season, and we'd love to hear about some of them. If you've figured out a creative way to bless your neighbors or to connect with them in relationship, why don't you just send those over to us at that same email address, info@reallife.la. We'd love to hear of the stories that are coming out of this season, of how God is maybe working in and through your life to care for those around you. You know that Pastor Jim's been encouraging us to bless those in our grocery stores. Keep that up. And again, as you have stories that come out of that, send those messages to us. We'd love to hear about them. Know that we're praying for you. If you have a need, just reach out to us. We are just a click away, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless.